Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Developing your contact center agents using surveys is what monkeys do. Elevate your ROI on VOC by building integrity and agent engagement with the survey calibration process, only available in the award-winning external quality monitoring program from Customer Relationship Metrics. Move onward and upward by going to customersgradethecall.com/fast and getting your $7,500 rapid results package for free. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because I have the opportunity to share with you somebody that I have known for a couple years, and we've had some really good conversations, and being able to introduce her to you is something that does mean a lot to me. Lynn Hunsaker has one brother and three sisters, and all of them were born in different states in the U.S. As a youngster, Lynn lived in 11 states, with most of them being west of the Mississippi River. Lynn even learned Dutch while living a year and a half in Belgium and the Netherlands as a church missionary volunteer. Lynn was always a shy kid, even when her grandparents would come to visit. She was reserved in sharing her opinions, but eventually noticed that others who spoke up got more perks, and her ideas were just as good. So Lynn learned to build the courage to speak up and found herself moving up quickly. Within 4 years, Lynn became head of corporate quality for a Fortune 250 company in Silicon Valley. The only woman and the youngest person in many of the executive meetings she attended, Lynn learned to stand her ground and to be assertive. Lynn's roles over 11 years required her to engage in every line of business, account team, and support function in making substantial improvements. With no direct authority over any of them, she had to achieve goals through influence. What helped Lynn most was getting familiar with frameworks and techniques for change management, personality types, managing assumptions and intended outcomes, situational leadership, organizational learning, internal communications, and accountability. Lynn is also currently leading two sister companies, Marketing Operation Partners and Clear Action Customer Experience Consulting. Both are focused on cross-functional collaboration to get things right the first time for customers' well-being and organic business growth. Lynn is an active volunteer. She has served for 10 years on the Silicon Valley American Marketing Association Board of Directors, 6 years on the Bay Area Association for Psychological Type Board of Directors, serves on the Leadership Council for her church women's organization, and is the director of earthquake preparedness across 8 congregations in Silicon Valley, and is a frequent co-chair of committees for the Customer Experience Professionals Association. As a frequent columnist in customer experience publications and speaker at customer experience events, Lynn hopes to change a lot of customers' lives by perpetuating a holistic view of customer experience management, especially across cross-functional engagements, to prevent reoccurrence of issues and make businesses lovable with raving fans. Lynn Hunsaker, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Bring it on, Jim. Right ready.
All right, so I've given our folks a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Well, I'm really excited about spreading knowledge as far and wide as possible. And I found that one of the best ways to do that is in group settings where people have a lot of interaction, such as using social media and other community platforms and subscription opportunities. So I'm pursuing those in both Marketing Operations Partners and Clear Action. And we feel like this is a way to make new ideas go viral and accelerate adoption within companies as well.
You know, Lynn, for the longest time, I consider you one of the leading technical experts in regards to some of the things that we've already, talked about, as far as, the marketing operations piece, the customer experience piece, the cross collaboration piece. I mean, it is, I think you're a machine in regards to the way that you can actually produce, so much of the material in regards to these particular areas of businesses, both B2B and B2C, that how do you do it? How do you actually do it? Do you have a bunch of minions that we don't know about helping you produce all this?
I don't know. I get ideas, and I have tons of ideas that I haven't yet executed on. I really enjoy seeing things from different perspectives as I talk to people, and that's usually my best fodder, seeing how other people are talking about things, or how things come across as I'm explaining something to them. And it gives me 10 new ideas for things I want to put out there and help people maybe choose a better path.
You bring up an interesting point about the 10 different things, right? So, and maybe it's a gender thing and I'm just a guy and I'm automatically, defective in that. Guys just don't multitask as well. I mean, we don't have the connection between our two brain hemispheres that women have. And so we have a little bit of an issue trying to do that. But for me, I think about 10 different ideas when I see what people are talking about, but I have difficulty just executing on one because for me, for example, the whole writing thing just seems to take a long time. And people ask me to write all the time, but heck, I'd rather have a guest and do a podcast or shoot a video. But so if you start thinking about those 10 ideas and being able to put them in textual form and you do that, and it seems like so rapidly, I mean, what helps you execute and do it quickly to get all 10 things done where I'm struggling with just one?
Well, I don't really know. I know that in 2009, there was a downturn and I made some goals that were pretty ambitious for getting my ideas out there because you wanted to accelerate your business as quickly as possible in that economic downturn. So I hired some people to show me how to do the webcasting and podcasting and blogging. And I think practice makes perfect. I was very productive in that year, but it was very difficult because it was my first time trying those kinds of things. And now I think that repurposing content is such a big deal. You create something in writing or on a podcast, then you can switch it over to the other mode, take snippets of different things and repurpose them. And so sometimes it looks like there's a heck of a lot more new stuff when it's actually breathing new life into things that were existing and just rearranging them for a new mode.
And I think that's a really important point. Thanks for sharing it, is that we have to think a little bit more big picture and holistically when it comes to anything that we develop these days, because having access to it, to be able to have multiple and different audiences connect with it, that means we have to put it in different types of medium. So that's a great thought. Now, you and I have also had a lot of discussions. I mean, your parents were missionaries, and so that was part of the moving around in different places, and you have a strong faith. And so I know that also being an author, a speaker, that there's a lot of things that you look for in inspiration, because we talk about those. I mean, you and I have the opportunity to drop a bunch of quotes that inspire us on several occasions. But is there one or two that you can share with our audience that kind of helps give you that extra drive and push?
Well, certainly where much is given, much is required. I've always felt lucky in life and that I needed to give to the world. But one of the big quotes that made a huge difference in my career was from our chairman at Applied Materials, which is a semiconductor equipment company. Our chairman was James Morgan, and he used to say, good news is no news is bad news, and bad news is good news, which I think gives everyone pause to try to interpret what that means. And what it meant for me, and as I used it as a voice of the customer manager and customer experience improvement director, and then later as the head of corporate quality there, was, gee whiz, we already know we're pretty good. So good news is no news. We do get a lot of accolades, but we're pretty sharp people, and we're very proud of that. So no news is bad news, because if there are people who aren't informing us of what's going on in their minds, they're going to be voting with their dollars and will be left in the cold. And finally, bad news is good news means let's welcome early warning signals. Let's welcome constructive feedback and take it as such, and humble ourselves to be appreciative for those early warning signals so that we can make sure we're always on the trajectory that we think we're on. And I found that to be very powerful in many dimensions of my life. I still remind myself of it, even just yesterday, as I was receiving some feedback from one of my colleagues.
Thanks for sharing that. And there's one thing that kind of stood out to me that I kind of had to correct myself with, is that when I heard you say that, I'm like, well, when do you celebrate? I mean, we need some of that as far as the motivation piece is concerned. So I think, though, when I look at it again, there's humility in that.
Yes. Yes. Well, we do celebrate the good news, but that's a given, and that's why it's no news. Doesn't mean no celebrating.
Got it. Yeah, don't we definitely have to celebrate. So I know you had mentioned to me a couple other quotes that are important to you.
I had this quote when I was a young girl. I think I must have been about 9 or 10. It was on an index card at one of the classes I attended, and I put it on my bulletin board, and I just loved it. And it's kind of weird because when you're thinking of the language here and my age, but it resonated with me, and I left it on my bulletin board for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I think it was by Ralph Waldo Emerson. That which we persist in doing becomes easier to do, not that the nature of the thing has changed, but our ability to do has increased. And I think that goes back to my initial story about learning how to repurpose material and be very prolific. You persist in doing it, and now it becomes second nature. You just whip it out.
Yeah, that's very true. I can definitely see how that has influenced you even from a long time ago into today. So thanks for sharing that again. Now, gosh, I know there's, even you and I have kind of had conversations about our own humps that we were trying to get over, and hopefully we've helped each other kind of accomplish that. But as far as sharing one of those humps with an audience, can you tell us a time by which you've had to get over it and it really set you on a better course of direction?
Well, sure. There have been many times when I've been puzzled by what's going on with the group that I'm leading or a group that I'm participating in. And I think one of the most definitive humps that I achieved was to begin to view things from the other person's perspective. For example, when I went to Holland and Belgium, I had only learned a little bit of Dutch in a language school, and you know that you don't really learn that much from even English high school classes, right? When you're learning a foreign language, the best thing to do is to be immersed. And so I was immersed, and sitting there with people speaking Dutch, I didn't understand everything they were saying, but I mimicked what they were saying in their mouth, inside my own mouth, and I found myself imagining myself sitting in their shoes, and took that further with other things and other scenarios later in life, in my school, in my work, imagining myself sitting where the other person is sitting. And I think that probably was more emphasized for me because of the nature of the work that I was doing, which was customer satisfaction work. You're trying to understand what's going on in the customer's mind, and then trying to help your executives and fellow employees to adopt what was going on in the customer's mind and make use of it. So you have to also, in my role, I had to step into the shoes of the people around me, my executives and fellow employees, and see things from their perspective and then connect the dots. So that's been reiterated over and over again. And I've taken it to the point where if I imagine that I need to have physical proximity or make myself available to meet them where they are, I will inconvenience myself to do that because I know that it's in the best interest of us both. And I need to make sure that I'm seeing it from the other person's perspective and treating it like that way in order to get the progress that I want.
No, thanks for sharing that. There was a couple of things that stood out to me when we were referring to that. And one being is that that doesn't happen quickly. We talk about even learning a new language. They say it's easy when we're a young child and we can pick it up, but you were, a teen at the time. I think as you were referencing it, it's a little bit harder to learn a language as we get older. So, but what you did was, totally engulf yourself with it and took the time and the effort in order to be able to get to the point to where I think in a year and a half, you were pretty fluent within Dutch.
That's right. I was able to get 16 credits of A grade just by taking one medieval literature course in Dutch. That was the only one they offered. It was just horrible. Like, why are we learning this kind of Dutch language? Nobody speaks this way anymore. But that we had a Dutch guy who was teaching it, and that's what he thought was really great for a college course. And then the rest was through testing. And so I do still think in Dutch occasionally, especially my most personal thoughts. And I like to use it whenever I can.
Well, and so for me, I think that is just a great, really connection also too with the Fast Leader shows, because oftentimes, people think, hey, fast, how can I get there quick? Well, that's how you get there quick is by doing it the right way, not by taking shortcuts.
That's right.
And that's
Do
really
things right the first time.
There you go. And so the beauty and why we love for folks like you to share your stories is that we can learn from those. That's the power of stories, that it's experiential. We can borrow somebody else's experience. So thanks for sharing that experience. Now, if you start thinking about, gosh, we talked about so many things that you have on your plate. But if there was one thing that's really giving you a lot of energy and a goal that you have, what would it be?
I have a lot of passion when I see a path toward a to-be picture, something that would be so awesome compared to the way things are right now. And I kind of automatically create this path toward it. I often use some kind of research in creating that path, and I like to get a lot of inputs from other people. But the vision of the end state is something that I maintain a lot of continuity for, as well as the path to get there. So that's one thing that people working with me are well informed to know that if they want me to deviate from the path, they need to give me reasons. I don't just jump off from that. But yeah, I have a lot of energy for this earthquake preparedness committee that I'm leading. I have a lot of energy for everything that I'm doing. And I think that half of it is just having the vision. And then, of course, as a leader, the other half is making sure there's a shared vision. And I think that is something that we take for granted quite a lot. And, I liken it to if you're going on a trip with somebody and you haven't figured out that you both want to spend your time this way or that way, you quickly learn that you don't have a shared vision. In organizations, we often assume that there's a shared vision, and checking for understanding, I think, was the biggest skill that has affected me in my adult life, because it wasn't something that was kind of part and parcel of my childhood. You just didn't check for understanding. You took things at face value, and you kind of fell in line with things. So realizing that people may not be falling in line, or that I might not even be falling in line, or maybe the line that we're following may not be the best line. So always checking my own assumptions and checking my assumptions about others, understanding what's driving others' assumptions can help me maintain my passion as well. Because I think that part of passion is the persistence. There's a persistence element to it. If you let go of a passion readily, then it wasn't really a passion. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned something about the passion for this earthquake preparedness. I mean, what has given you passion about earthquake preparedness?
Well, when I first got that assignment, I didn't really know much about it. And I thought, well, let me take a class from the Red Cross. Let me take a class from my city and see more about what there is. And, well, I'll tell you, the first day that I took that class, I came home from it. It was around 9:00, and I smelled some smoke in my neighborhood. And I thought, wow, what's going on? And I couldn't see any fire trucks or whatever, but I turned on the news, which I never like to turn on the news at night. And lo and behold, the San Bruno gas explosion had happened. And I don't know if the smoke was coming from that, but this was a huge issue with dozens of homes and fatalities just south of San Francisco, where a gas pipe burst in a neighborhood that evening. And that really drove to home the importance of what I was embarking on. And as I took the classes, I learned so much about how people's lives were at stake and how there was also a real tender element about those kinds of situations where the human interaction is so important. And so since then, I've had meetings with my neighbors a couple of years in a row where they come over and we talk about how we're going to help each other and, thinking about who's going to do this and who's going to do that now, so that if I'm out of town, we can take care of each other. So there's a lot to it like that. I think the human element and human to human stuff is a huge part of what turns people on and turns me on in particular and drives that passion.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. Maximum Contact Center agent performance is impossible unless your customer is involved in grading and coaching agents. So make it simple for you and customers with the award-winning external quality monitoring program from Customer Relationship Metrics. Get over the hump now by going to customersgradethecall.com/fast and getting your $7,500 rapid results package for free. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Lynn, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Lynn Hunsaker, are you ready to Hoedown?
You betcha. Bring it on.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Probably bootstrapping things. It's all a matter of resourcing.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Well, I read the book called Zap, The Lightning of Empowerment, and it was incredibly impactful on helping me to see what empowerment actually is. When you delegate to people, help them see the intended outcome that you have, and then let go, let them be free.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
Doing the whole job, taking a look at the big picture and making sure that all the pieces fit together.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Well, techniques that I learned in change management classes. I can't underscore enough how important it is for anybody who wants to make an impact in an organization to take a formal change management class. It's not about coping. It's about being strategic in making change happen.
What one book would you recommend to our listeners? And it could be from any genre.
Well, I think that Zap, The Lightning of Empowerment might be a good one. It's a pretty quick read. It's entertaining, and you can certainly finish it on a trip from San Francisco to LA. Okay,
Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Lynn Hunsaker. Okay, Lynn, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you, but you can't take everything. You can only choose one. So what one skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
I learned about intended outcomes in an executive leadership course I took in my 30s, and I wish I would have known about intended outcomes management much earlier. It's the idea of looking at the end point. What are you trying to achieve? And then allowing a lot more flexibility in terms of getting there. But in every interaction, preparing for it. What is the other person going to be expecting? What am I expecting to happen? And how does this contribute to that, toward that intended outcome? So usually an intended outcome is something that takes several steps or several interactions to get toward. You might not even state it outright, but being clear about it in your own mind from the beginning will keep you on course.
Lynn, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn at Lynn Hunsaker. I've got Twitter at Clear Action, and my website is clearactioncx.com.
Lynn Hunsaker, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.